My name is Maria Five. Welcome to International Cat Day. It's August the 8th, and you're probably wondering why I don't have a tan. Well, this is March, but I finished the cat series now, and last year I can remember kind of scrambling and going, uh-oh, uh-oh. So this year, the book came up and I've read it. I've actually read the whole series. And so I thought I would do it now and then it would air when it's supposed to air. So, a book series, a tea, and a make. So the tea today, I'm just going to show you, and I'm not even sure you can see. Oh yeah, you can. There we go. The color of it, it's a little bit dark. This is Tulsi tea and peppermint. And the Tulsi is for clarity, and it does not actually have a lot of flavor. It is organic. It's a big thing in India, not so much here. It is for clarity, and it has very, very little taste to it. So you can add it to anything you like. So this particular concoction here is Tim Hortons peppermint tea mixed with a bag of Tulsi and some honey, because peppermint tea and I don't, it just dries out my mouth and my throat if I don't put some honey in there. So I've got some honey in there. Anyway, all right. So the make. We have this, and this was actually commissioned. It's got a mesh bottom, and it's got drawstrings, and don't know if you can see it, but I will try and bag it out for you. And it kind of puffs out to be more of a balloon. And it's a bag for gathering, for foraging, in case you were picking mushrooms or berries. And yeah, it was actually a lot of fun to design and make. I personally would probably not have made it out of such a hearty fabric. Probably more just like a good, sturdy, thick woven cotton. But this is waxed canvas, and it's very structurally sound. It's not gonna fall apart or go anywhere. But anyway, it was a lot of fun to create, a lot of fun to make. It's got those pleats that I did once, and this was many, many years ago, but I kind of did a shoulder with those pleats, and they would open up and there would be a different color underneath. I'd never forgotten that. I haven't had the chance to make another blouse or top like that, but it's still up here. So yes, soon I will create something like that again, I'm sure, as my projects vary. It never ends, truly, it never ends. Anyway, all right. So we are going to be talking today about Alison O'Leary's Sleeping Cat Blues. This is the 6th book of a whole series of Cat Noir. And Alison O'Leary, I'm going to post a picture of her here. And there are 2 Alison O'Learys that are authors, believe it or not. One of them is American. She's nonfiction and a journalist. And the other one is English and writes about cats. So, yes, this is the first one of this series was called Street Cat. And I have read most of them. I cannot claim to. I didn't read Christmas Cat Blues. And I part of it possibly a lack of time, but also part of it was it's just not that time of year, and so I just didn't find a copy of it. So, if I find it, I probably will read it. So I started off reading Sleeping Cat Blues, and it's a good book. It's a good story. Don't get me wrong. But I kind of thought a little bit was missing, and I thought, what if I went back? What if something happened? And yes, that's exactly, something happened. So we start off with Street Cat Blues, and there is this cat, and his name is Aubrey. And he has been banged around and lost his owner, or his owner actually died in a rather violent way, was on the streets, and ended up in a shelter, and ended up getting adopted by Molly and Jeremy. and they have no children. And they don't want to make waves. They do their job. They come home. They watch the telly. They have a glass of wine in the evening. Very, very discreet individuals. And she works in a care home, and he is he's a superintendent at this point. But in the beginning, he starts off as a school teacher. So go along, and the story kind of gives the beginning. By the time I got to Sleeping Cat Blues, there are 2 cats, both strays, both rescues, both adopted, and Carlos, who was a lost soul. It started off in Brazil, left with his mother, very not so good circumstances, and then his mother dies, again, not so good circumstances, and they end up being his guardians legally, and he just ends up having so much better opportunities than he would have. So, this book, Sleeping Cat Blues, starts off with Jeremy feeling a little something's missing, a little ungratified, a little at a loss. And so his wife decides, why don't you take a night class? They're offering a history of the town. They've just moved to this town. And, maybe you should go check it out, learn a little bit of history, of the local history, and find out what's going on. And, maybe you'll meet someone. So he does this. He signs up and ends up, yes, meeting someone named Mike. And they end up becoming friends. And, of course, there's an instructor. And there's 4 other students other than he and Mike. There are 4 other students. And the teacher ends up getting hit in the head quite badly and ends up in hospital. So, of course, what's going on? Well, she ends up telling them that there is this 30-year-old unsolved mystery of 3 dead children. And it blossoms out from there. It was never solved. There was somebody that was accused, and then it was later found out that he had nothing to do with it. And it would have just been easier had he agreed. So that's what he did. Anyway, he gets pulled out. They never bother figuring out who did it. But and here's where the dramatic irony comes in this book, we as the readers, we know who did it, because the character, one of the students actually starts to get a little panicky, and then we start figuring out a little bit more about her life. Her cat, Clara, becomes friends or at least acquaintances with Vincent, the other stray, and Aubrey, the original stray rescue. And we just overhear a few things as readers that, of course, Jeremy and Molly and the rest of the world don't know. So that part is really cute. So then there's the mystery to solve. I think my biggest thing, and what made me delve further into this whole series, was this feeling that I want more. I mean, this is supposed to be a cat series, and I want more. And if you go back to the beginning, to the first one, Street Cat Blues, almost the whole novel is told by Aubrey. We have the whole cat's point of view for everything. And it's really delightful. And then as you progress through the series, you find out about Vincent, you find out about Carlos, you find out about all these other things. But by the time you get to the 6th novel, so the first novel, Street Cat Blues, was written in 2018. This one, written in 2024, has lost a lot of that cat element. And even though the cats do end up overhearing the conversation, and thereby you as the reader know what's going on, it loses a little bit. And I'm sorry, I hope, Allison, you're watching this. Bring the cat point of view back in much more of your story. Because to me, I feel like that's what makes it so delightful. There's how many murder mysteries out there? How many series out there? There are so many novels and opportunities. But, telling something the way Lillian Jackson Braun did, with Mr. Quillerin, it's unique. It offers that little bit of something, that je sais quoi, shall we say, that I think makes the novel a little bit unique. I wrote a novel many, many years ago. My son was 2. So, yeah, many, many years ago. And it's never been published. But it's called The Asparagus Revolution. And the whole novel is written from the point of view of cats. So, if it ever gets published and you see it on the shelves, that would be me. And who knows? I'm not saying it never will. Maybe it will. We shall see how the world plays out. However, that is my review. Cat Noir. It does start off really good and it loses a little bit, but maybe you'll get back. Will I read book 7? Yes, I will. Absolutely, I will. It's a good series, delightful, a murder mystery that's just kind of interesting and a little bit different because the cats are really involved in this. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm sorry my cat has abandoned. Yeah, she's abandoned me. She's been with me all morning, of course. Anyway, that's okay. So, thank you so much for joining me and watching, and we shall see you again next Saturday. Bye-bye.